a mystery can be in first person point of view because in a mystery the reader is traditionally learning with the
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
protagonist. A thriller you couldn't really do in first person because a thriller like you're also seeing you know what the main character doesn't know and you're watching them kind of catch up to it.
Yeah.
That's the thrill. So
Hello, writers and crafters. I'm Valerie Isan.
and I'm Eric Mertz.
And this is episode 203 of the podcast. It is October 22nd, 2025, as we record this. And today we're going to be talking about point of view.
From
And
our points of view,
yeah,
right? Got to start
sure.
there. These are our points of view on points of view.
Yeah. That's great. I don't even know how to title that. That's going to be some wild SEO.
POV from our POV. There you go.
Oh, thank you so much to our existing patrons for believing in our work offline and here on the podcast. You can become a patron of the arts at patreon.com/Valerie Isan for books, writing instruction, coaching, and planning. Also, you can go to patreon.com/strange air stories for short stories in the paranormal mystery genre.
Hmm,
Author updates. I have launched my 4-month book coaching container, officially
nice.
aligned author book coaching. The price was cut drastically, actually. It was $667 off the regular price during the launch week, which is over. However, I was lame and didn't do like any email marketing with it at all. So I think I am going to send out an email to my mailing list, turn the discount code back on for like 48 hours, and just tell them, like, hey, I never got around to like telling you guys about this. Yeah. I get all these great ideas, Eric, and I know the process. I know what you're supposed to do when it comes to email and social media marketing, and I just don't do it because I think I haven't built the, well, I don't have the accountability, really. I don't have the
Hmm.
accountability buddy for that, and I also don't think it's, I mean, it's on the to-do list. Even if I put it in my planner, like, okay, I'm going to do this every day, and I write a spot on my planner to do it every day, somehow it doesn't get done. And I think it's just because I haven't internalized it yet. Just like when you're writing story, you have to like remember all the parts of story. And as you're writing the scene, you have to go back and think, oh, did I get this right? Did I get this right? And after a while, you just sort of like internalize it and you don't even think about it. That's where I'm not at when it comes to marketing. I have not yet internalized. I need to put Instagram story out every day or whatever. So I think that's
I
where.
think what's hard for me about it, I'm in that place, and frankly, like author update include for me includes looking at I've been interviewing like social media marketing people and like marketing PR people because I
Hmm.
just cannot translate here's the hard part for me is this. Like I'm going to Ghost Story Weekend this tomorrow.
Hmm.
Yay, right? It's a thing. So someone in my position would use this event and all of the many things, the travel, the location, the meetings, the environment, all the swag. Like there's so much stuff you could use for content.
Hmm.
What I don't know how to do is like I could give you the bundle of videos and pictures and stuff. I just don't know how to distribute it. And I think that's where the like I could put out a 5 minute video and walk away feeling affirmed, but I can't figure out how to take a 5 minute video and post it 63 different ways to, 21
But I
audiences.
don't
And I
think you
think
need to
that's
do that right now.
you
I think
do.
you
I,
just
I
need to put the 5-minute video up.
but for me the trouble is always like I have an existing audience and that existing audience isn't I mean, if you have like, I think if you put it out, the 5 minute video out, it goes to your existing audience. But the whole thing is you're trying to build your existing audience. I think it becomes a sort of like capitalist venture where it's like I lose my motivation when it's like I'm going to post this thing and I'm going to get 11 likes and two comments and they're going to be from the same 11 people and the same two people. Like I don't want that. I would like it to be,
Well,
I don't
it
know.
has to start that way because that's what your audience is right now. It's 11 people on Instagram.
No, it's like 1,000 people on Instagram, but 11 of them click it. That's where I get lost of like,
Yeah.
I, for it to be worth to at this juncture, if it's a business venture, it has to grow. Otherwise,
Right. Yeah.
I
So
don't know.
talking to someone about that. Yeah. I also have
I just
feelings.
interrupted your update with my update. I'm so sorry.
Oh, we can.
I
It's the morning show. I
I
got my
upstaged
coffee. You
your
got your
update.
coffee.
I upstaged your update. My gosh.
That's okay. We'll just take turns back and forth. Um, yeah, I had something else to say about Instagram, but I totally forgot. So I'll remember it later. Right in the Harbor is coming up. I
Yay.
have two presentations to prep for. So I've started like creating those slide decks. And I have some feelings lately about the finality of the move and the
Uh,
recognition of like, oh, this is the last time I'm gonna see, or this is the last time I'm gonna do, or, so I have moments like I'll just be like doing my regular thing, and then all of a sudden I'll kind of lip quiver. Oh, this is so
aw.
sad. I'm not going to do this again. So having some of those feelings coming up. Oh, I know what I was going to say about Instagram. I'm having some like get over myself feelings because I used to show up in pictures and words on social media. I blogged all the time. Do you remember blogs? I mean, I
Oh,
know
I
you
put one
have.
out every week.
I
Nobody
know,
reads them.
but not articles. I meant like, personal updates and
Oh,
personal essays I'd write on my blog. And but since I've been a published author, I haven't really done that because I'm so worried about like, oh, how is this going to affect the algorithm, or, you know, showing up in a certain way, and how is this going to affect my visibility on, I don't know, like I think it still gets tied up in that professional appearance, and
yeah.
I need to ditch the inner shoulder pads lady in my head. That's what I need to do, Eric. I need to ditch
Yeah.
the 1980s shoulder pad wearing, presentation giving lady because that doesn't mean professional. It just means I'm not actually showing up for realsies anymore. And I don't say the things on my mind anymore online because what if somebody takes it wrong? Or what if they think, yeah, I don't know. It's just stupid. I need to just be me and not worry about platform. You know what I mean? And just be me, show up, do what I used to do, and have that be okay. And I think that will on I just need to unlock it. I need to ditch the shoulder pads lady and unlock the me. And that's how I'm gonna show up on Instagram again.
So is the shoulder pads lady just like like a non-relevant vision of yourself? Maybe I need to come up with one of those. Like this is the person I'm not anymore, but I think in my head. Um,
Yeah, basically, yeah. Because
I think
I
for me,
remember in a middle school, like when
oh God, shoulder
like the
middle
the
school clothes were
clothes
the
the
worst.
clothes then what I wore in middle school, because that was when I cared really about like what brand of jeans I wore because that was important to the 13-year-old kid.
Oh yeah,
And so that was like the polo shirts with the collars up and the matching
yeah,
keds.
a popped collar. Yeah,
And yeah, and anything that I wore that was dressed up, like I'd wear the suit jacket, that was
yeah.
like
Oh my
pastel
gosh,
and kind of like
this is
long
crazy.
and boxy, and it had the shoulder pads, and shoulder pads were that's what made it cool, was having the shoulder pads. So in my brain I still have this like professional lady, that looks popped,
Yeah,
like whatever you called
yeah.
it. Yeah. And
Popped collars,
and when
tucked
when
in
I don't
shirts.
have like this nerdy presence online, then somehow I'm not professional, and I don't know. So I just need to ditch that picture in my head. Yeah, the non, what did you call it? Like it's non-relevant anymore. Like this is not
Yeah,
who
like I
I
think
am
there's
anymore. In fact, I don't even know if I ever was really that.
I think that's funny because, and now we're going to drift into like psychology, but I think it's like, I think it may be Jung or Freud. There's this like image that we create of ourselves that like is not real, but it like represents sort of all of our insecurities,
Mm.
and we carry it around. And it's like for me, when you said that, it's middle school. Um, but I just remember like having this oversized white t-shirt that I don't know how I ended up with it. It had like it was the t-shirt that had the pocket on the chest, which is
Mhm.
like the like actually most ridiculous thing in fashion is to put a pocket on a t-shirt. Um, but I remember once getting like mustard on it. Like I was eating something at lunch, and
Mhm.
something I get my I live in that like I'm the guy it's like a slob feeling. Like I live with that sort of like I'm sloppy, I'm not put together. Um, but it's not real. Like I don't,
Unkempt man.
I'm unkempt guy. But it's yeah, I don't know. I don't like if we're just going to talk about like where social like where we hang up in social media. I think that for me it was just what I mentioned is like it is almost ceased to become a personal expression. Like I just see like most of my feeds are commercial. And if it's someone I'm personally friends with, it's their commercial venture, it's their side hustle, it's their thing, which I mean, I don't mind it being that, but I always I can't differentiate in my head between like if I go to Ghost Story Weekend and I post me sitting with 10 people writing ghost stories, drinking tea, and I post it, is that because I want to draw an audience that's into writing and may join me next year? Or is it because I want friends and family to see what fun things I do? It's both,
It's
but
both.
I don't know how to differentiate in my head the intention of this is where I need a marketer, because even when I'm writing, when the story's done and I know it's done, it's kind of dead to me. Not dead in that like I don't love it anymore, but I've created the thing. Now
Mhm.
I would love it if someone else would go out and figure out how to put it out there for like 100, 1,000 people to buy instead of 100. Because I can't, I'm already on to the next story. It is such a social media is such a weird thing. I think when the aliens come down and study this part of our culture, they're going to say, "What were these people doing? Were they the most vain and uncertain people to ever in this galaxy?" I mean, that's what it feels like sometimes. We just
Well,
went
we
off
could
on a
continue
certain
talking
line.
about that, or we could move on and
But these are
talk
our points
about.
of view on social media. These are our points of view. It's all relevant,
It's all
Val.
relevant.
What
What's
are you
going on
reading?
in your world?
Oh, what's going on? I'm going to Ghost Story Weekend this
Hmm.
weekend, which is great. I have a few. I decided to bring some unfinished some polished projects with me. At Ghost Story Weekend, I get to write with everybody, but I'm also pulled out to do consults and debriefings and and things. So I get to write, but I also don't, that my time is not entirely my own. So I decided to bring some things that were just, I've got this short story that needs finishing and this short story I've wanted to finish. And so yeah, I'm going to be there in Newport on tomorrow, which is also my son's birthday, which is kind of a
Oh,
bummer. I'm leaving like at
yeah.
1 on his birthday. He's aware of this. He's also savvy enough to know both how important it is to me and how to use it to his advantage. So, you know, um,
But Dad.
no harm, no foul. My wife is planning like they're going to go. This is what I'm going to miss. Well, I'm out there at the beach. They're going to go do a tour of all the free things that you can get on your birthday tomorrow. So they're going to go get the free cookie, the free ice cream, the free sushi. They're going to do the whole like, they're going to drive around getting free stuff. Um, I miss that. And I'm also interviewing PR firms, marketing firms, which is an eye-opening exercise. I interviewed with some people who do strictly podcast placement, and the sticker shock from that was enough to put me on
Oh.
my backside. Um, so yeah, I'm like doing the calculation of like return on investment when it comes to if I'm going to invest capital in something, it's got to have results. And so um, yeah, we'll see. I'm putting those pieces together. That's for next year.
Let's see. What are you reading?
He reaches down to get it. I'm reading a book called My
Oh
Favorite Thing
yeah.
is Monsters by Emil Ferris. I read a graphic novel like every other book I read is a graphic novel. Um, have you ever read this or looked at this?
Uh, I mean, no, I haven't opened it up, but I see it on the shelf at work all the time. So,
Well, I'll just give a quick pitch on it. Emil Ferris is an author, as an author and artist who got sick. She was bedridden for a while, and she ended up writing this thing on notebook paper with just a ballpoint pen. She did like a page a day, and the whole book is it like reproduces
wow.
the page. So you actually have, I believe, a scan of the notebook paper page, and
Wow.
so it's just I often read a graphic novel with like sometimes I'll lose the art because I'm reading the words and the story, but
Hmm.
this is like mesmerizing
Yeah,
to
it's
see
forcing you
like
to look at the art.
it's amazing to sit there and like she wrote a page a day because that's all she could do, and some of these pages are like fine art pages, they're
Yeah, wow.
just they're extraordinary. um so yeah, I'm reading that. What about you?
I just finished a book. I was trying to remember the name of it, so I'm looking it up right now. Um, I get all these book recommendations kind of from work, like people will order something and I'll think, oh, that looks really good. And so I'll buy a copy for myself. So I just finished reading The Witch of Willow Sound by Vanessa Penny, and that was one of those cases, where a customer ordered it at work and I thought, ooh, that looks really good. So I just finished that last night and I just started last night Charlotte McConaughey's newest book, Wild Dark Shore. I've read her before. The other book I read by her was, I think it was called, had wolves in the title, Once We Were Wolves or something like
Hmm.
that. Um, Once There Were Wolves, that was the other title that she wrote. So, anyways, I just started this last night. I'm like in chapter one, so I haven't. It's got some really cool point of view stuff though already. So
Yeah.
more on that later.
Yeah,
So those are the books. Those are the
I love
books that I'm
saying that
reading.
I've always wanted to read Summer of Night by Dan Simmons. I have like 8 or 9 Dan Simmons books on my shelves. I've only read a couple of them, but I've always wanted to read Summer of Night, and that's what I'm bringing to Ghost Story Weekend with me. So hopefully, I hope it's as good as I've this book has been on the top of the TBR for probably 5 years. Um, and I have two podcasts that I listen to have like broken it down and analyzed it, and I've ignored those. Like I just won't listen
Oh,
to
yeah.
those episodes.
Hmm.
So this is like my Halloween, Ghost Story Weekend, Halloween week read and project is to really immerse. It's supposed to be like the best. It's like apparently it's like the better version of It by Stephen King. It's like people say
Okay.
if you like It, you'll love this book. So I'm super stoked
Cool.
to uh, to read that book. Yeah.
Awesome.
Let's talk about point of view, though.
All right.
In
Point
my
of
point of
view.
view, I'm excited to read that. If I put it in front of my mom, her point of view would be, this looks dreadful. So,
Point of view
different
is
stories.
important.
Point of
So
view
let's
is killer.
briefly go over like actually the definition
We
of
do
point of
everything
view. Like,
briefly. We don't
what's
do
that?
anything briefly.
We
We
don't.
don't do anything
That is
briefly.
true. But, we have
Okay.
limited
Well, let's
time
try
on
it.
this podcast, so we're going to have to be brief.
Right.
So, point of view, as we've already said, POV, that's what it stands for, point of view.
That's what the kids say. The
That's
kids
what the
say
kids
POV.
POV. So there is first person point of view, which is the
Well,
I.
let's step back a bit. Point of
Okay.
view is when you're reading something, it's the lens through which you're looking at the story, right? So like when you're in a scene, you're in something's point of view. You are seeing it through a lens of some kind. And what we're going to talk about, at least to start, are what some of those lenses are.
Hmm. Yeah.
Right.
More on that, what you just said in a minute. But yes,
In a minute.
the first the the first person point of view is that I voice. It is
I am on
usually
a podcast
I
with
am on a podcast.
I am on a podcast
I
with
got a
Val.
second cup of coffee this morning when I realized.
I got up very late.
So there's that first person point of view. And why that's good is because it's immediate. It's a little more raw, I think.
Yep.
You're forced into somebody's head when you're reading. Like it's this person, and we can talk a little bit about the pros and cons of doing that. Well, let's just do that really quick because we already started that. So pros and cons of first person point of view are the immediacy of it. Like it's raw, it's right there. It I
It
think
showcases a unique voice. Like The Catcher in the Rye is in I, and it would be a different book if it was, in a different, Holden Caulfield, it gets to that real essence of who he is, and he's one of a kind.
the cons to first person are
Oh
it gets
boy,
kind of
many.
boring to say I all the time for one thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I. And your pro writing aid really doesn't like it either. You've
It hates
started
it.
3 sentences with the same word. So there's that. And also because of that camera, because of that lens, because you're just looking out of one person's eyes, you cannot show anything in your document, in your manuscript that doesn't come from that eye voice camera lens. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, you can't like it would be really hard to write a novel with multiple points of view if the main character point of view is I, because that reader is so because you've made the choice to like really tie the readability of the book to that main character. You can't break to that and go to someone else
I think
as
you've just
effectively.
jumped to master level. So let's pause on
Okay,
that.
let's stay in the
Let's
one on
go
ones.
back to
The
okay,
one on
so
one.
pros and cons just briefly. That was the first
Yep.
person.
Yep.
Then there's the third person, which can be close or distant.
Erick
And
is on a podcast.
and I
Right.
think that in my point of view, I think that third person close is the same thing as first person. You're just
I
using
disagree.
she, he, they instead of I. It's still coming from, you're still feeling the feelings and you're hearing the
Yes.
internal dialogue of the main character in
I
close.
agree to the extent that, like, yes, there's the intimacy, but I think the well, maybe I'm going to master level, but it's third person close allows you to create a sense of unreliable narrator. It's hard to be an
Yes.
unreliable narrator in first point of view, but if you want an air of unreliable, you would need to be third person close. So I
I
would think.
disagree, but yes, you can think that.
It's my point of view. I think
I
it would be it would be a challenge to write an unreliable first person point of view unless you're
mean,
like
Ruth Ware
Vladimir
does it
Nabokov.
all the time.
Who?
Ruth Ware?
Oh, Ruth Ware, right? And so does Nabokov does that stuff too. But
So,
these are 600 level writers.
then there's omniscient, and I don't know. I think that omniscient point of view is outdated.
Oh, I
I
bristle
don't
at it.
think that contemporary writers today do it. I mean, there are contemporary writers today that do it, and I do find their writing. I do like some of it. What I don't like, so omniscient point of view is that like God lens. So
All
now we're
knowing.
looking through the camera of a narrator that can see everything all at once. And so there's a writer that doesn't do omniscient well does a lot of head hopping, and they don't change the camera lens at appropriate places. And that drives me bananas as a reader. I hate it. And so there are authors that I have really liked in the past that I don't read anymore on purpose because of the omniscient head hopping thing that really bothers me. Some people do it in appropriate places, so it's okay and I can like let it slide as a reader because the content is really engaging or whatever, or like, the story or the topic is really is capturing my attention, and so I can kind of like forget that it's omniscient.
I
you've
don't
got
like it.
your thinker hand
I
face
don't like
thing
the
going on.
omniscient point of view. At least it's to me, it's like if you can get it right, it works. Like it works really well. Like where the crawdads sing was in omniscient point of view.
I
Um,
don't remember it being
ish. There's some
omniscient.
points where she
Okay.
sort of we kind of pull out and we're kind of in this like, we see the whole world. But I
Mm-hmm.
think when and when I put on my editor hat and you read a book where I think the struggle is like that level of depth with that many people feels like head hopping, and it often just feels like indecisive. It's like the scene does not take on any character because one person's fretting about burning toast, the other one's fretting about the dog barking at the door, and it's like what is the real stress point that's moving the scene forward, or that's a red herring.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's hard to like unless you know how. I think it just stands in for not knowing the scene for a lot of writers, unfortunately.
Um, yes, I think what it stands in, I think what it means is that a writer knows their cast. We're talking about ensemble cast before, knows their characters well enough that they the writer knows what the characters are feeling. And so as that omniscient writer person, they they can easily flip back and forth between characters, or not flip back and forth, but like you can be in third person close, like Charlotte, is the main character, and you're going through her internal dialogue, and then all of a sudden she's having interaction with Sam, and then the narrator will pop into Sam's head and display like a feeling or an internal dialogue. But there's no way that Charlotte would know that. So that's head hopping. That's like author intrusion. That's, I don't know if you would call that author intrusion. It's just a mistake. When as a
Right.
reader, I'm reading, I'm thinking, oh, that was wrong. Like there's no way that Charlotte would know that. That immediately pulls me out of the story. But I think I think in that case, those are mistakes from the author. And I think that what they meant to do, because, we're people, we're empathic, we can see body language and we can know, okay, this person in front of me is not feeling good. They are feeling uncomfortable. And I know that they're feeling this particular emotion, but I don't actually know that. And so I think
Right.
that that's where the head hopping comes in. And I think that's where the omniscient point of view sometimes comes in with new baby writers. And what they need to do instead is not say what Sam is feeling when it's Charlotte's turn to be behind the camera. They just need to show what Sam is doing so that the reader can also infer along with Charlotte, oh, Sam's feeling this way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I think where I get so if I'm in a if I'm in Sam's point of view and I'm watching Charlotte and they're I think it's I think where writers get kind of hung up is this idea that like they don't there's a level of like scene experience where you have to understand that Charlotte, like, you don't need to say that Charlotte thought Sam was a fool, all Charlotte has to do is roll her eyes, and Sam can
But
see
you
that.
can't, but you can't say she rolled her eyes. I guess you can because
If Sam's point of view, right, and Sam and Charlotte are having this heated conversation, and we want to convey that Charlotte thinks Sam's a fool, Charlotte rolls her eyes at something he says. It's Sam's reaction. He felt like she rolled like, the physical. I think what it does in a scene, especially where there's dialogue, is it robs the visual um, energy of like what those reactions like responding to body language. Like you caught me doing this, and so like
Mhm.
you were responding to my body language, right? So in that scene, it's more powerful to have me, you observe. If it's in your point of view, it's you observing me in thoughtful position, right?
Mhm.
Because then that creates this anticipation. What is he thinking? Does is he going to agree? Is he not going to agree? Like there's this,
Mhm.
and I'm doing it too. I think it's I think it's a reliance on verbal action. I always think of dialogue as just verbal action. A character can do five things around the actual dialogue that convey the meaning of the scene. But that's a screenplay technique. The screenplay technique says like you write the action and add the dialogue. And I if you take that into fiction, it makes point of view a little easier because you're like if you write the action from a character's point of view and then add the dialogue, you're less reliant on the dialogue, more on the observation of action.
Hmm.
Ooh, it's
Yep.
hard.
That went that went into master level. So let's take it
I feel like
over.
that was
Let's
300 level.
let's
300
go
level.
into a little bit. Yeah, let's go a little deeper quickly again. So first person, the pros and cons are it's more immediate, it's
Yep.
more raw, but you're limited on what you can put in the scene because it has to be what this one point of view character can see at that time. There can't it's hard to like put in backstory sort of, you know? I mean, that's not true. You can put in backstory, but you can't if it's a
It
murder
makes the
mystery,
flashback.
you know,
Right.
like you can't see what the murderer is doing because if you're just in first person or in third person close, you can't know. The character can't
Right.
know what is happening off
That's
stage.
why a mystery can be in first person point of view, because in a mystery, the reader is traditionally learning with the
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
protagonist. A thriller, you couldn't really do in first person because a thriller, like, you're also seeing you know what the main character doesn't know, and you're watching them kind of catch up to it. That's
Yeah.
the thrill. So you
Uh-huh.
can't really. It's also no like point of view really strongly connects to genre because
Mm-hmm.
you
Exactly.
yeah you
Because of
couldn't
what you
really
just said.
yeah fantasy would be hard because you're always in ensemble like you're often in ensemble mode because you have a party
Mm-hmm.
usually. um so yeah, the advantages of first person point of view again is like if it's this like if you have this super unique voice that you get that because that the tyranny of that voice like works for you because it's what the reader's there for. If not, you have to wonder. You have to have a reason for first point of view. I think you have to have a strong case for it.
I don't know. I just think sometimes the story calls for it and
Right.
that's like the character voice is so strong and you just write it and it happens to be in first person. There
Right.
are, like you said, genre expectations. You know, like YA tends to be in first person.
Right.
Fantasy tends to be third person.
Yeah.
Not omniscient, but can be a little more distant.
Right.
Um,
Literary is a lot of times in first person because the character is a um is cat is well literary is so different. I guess it's
yeah,
hard to say
literary, you
because
can kind of do whatever you want with it.
literary. I think
So,
short stories work really well in first person because you have such a limited amount of time to immerse the
mhm.
reader, removing that layer of distance is helpful in that. I think a successful short story is, um,
when you are shifting point of view, like we're
Oh
not saying
boy.
you can't do it, but
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
do, it should be, in my point of view,
Uh-oh.
it should
Uh-oh.
be only at chapter breaks.
I disagree.
I know you do, and
I know
I
you do
have
because
seen
you
it
read what I write.
artfully done in um in scene breaks.
Scene breaks. Has to be a scene break. There has to be something that denotes the, if we were doing a scene of two people doing a podcast and we were shifting back and forth, there would have to be something. Here's what I always say. There has to be something that motivates the shift of point of view. There has to be a
Yes.
reason.
Yes.
It's not authorial boredom either. If you're just bored writing from my point of view, which and then wanting to shift to vowels, that wouldn't work. But if suddenly like I have to get up and use the restroom, interrupting the podcast, that would be a perfect time to shift to your point of view, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
there has to be a reason. That's where I get lost when I'm editing a book, or like, why are we shifting here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't ever do it in the sentence or in the paragraph, you know?
Unless the character is psychic. I said that to an author once and they thought I was being sarcastic, but unless your character is psychic and can read that person's thoughts,
Uh-huh.
then yeah. But yeah, don't just, your characters aren't psychic. Your odds are your characters aren't psychic. Yeah, why do you think it has to be on a chapter break? I'm just going to ask that. Because
Because
that's pretty stiff.
because
That's pretty
I
stiff.
think as a reader, the
Okay.
reason I am reading is because of character. Because I want to like experience the world through this character's point of view. And if I am shifting back and forth between different characters too frequently, then I never can get into that head, really. Then I become too distant. Then I become kind of an omniscient reader, and I'm just sort of like watching this from afar. I'm not immersed in the story. And so
Yeah.
if you're going to shift, I think having a whole character or a whole chapter, excuse me, for one character allows that to happen for one thing. There's other reasons too, but like I
I
think
think
that's the main one.
I think I like the shift inside of a chapter. I think it's early in a book. I think you do shifts. You stay chapter points of view, right? Clearly, your main character might have two chapters, characters one, just showing who's the main character. But I think as a way of working with pacing, as you get later in the book, as like the mystery is starting to unravel, or as something is working itself into as the two co-investigators are coming together. You can increase pacing if you
Hmm.
are breaking every 1,500 words as opposed to 3,500 words. You can
Hmm.
kind of heighten that tension. But again, I'll go back to say what I said. It's got to be motivated. If there's no other reason other than authorial boredom, um, then, yeah, it's not going to work. Reader's going to know. So,
So, in closing, there's so much more to talk about and unpack
we could,
around point of view. But in closing, I think the camera test is a good way to make sure you're in point of view, that you're not head hopping because you're
right,
just looking through the camera lens of what the character you're writing at that
right.
scene, in that scene, what they can see. See, know,
I have a
believe in that scene.
Right. And I have a tool for that. The way I taught myself that was watching movies, especially character-driven movies. Um, it watch because the camera cannot focus solely on looking out of a character's eye. It's You can watch a scene. Let's say I always think of Breaking Bad, right? There are scenes that are Walter White scene. They are told from his point of view, right? There are also scenes involving Walter White that are from another character's point of view. And so watching how the camera in a well done television show or a movie subtly shifts the point of view in a scene involving many characters is a great way to like find this, help find the subtlety for yourself. It right. There's just a difference in a Walter White scene from Walter's point of view and a scene from Gus's point of view. But it happens and it's real. You get that feeling after the scene, like, wow, this was like a powerful Gus scene or something. So yeah, the
Just
camera test is
a
important.
little caveat to that, which is not really point of view related. It's more like an editor seeing it. But if you are, if the character is hearing something, like they can't see it, it's not from their camera, but they can hear it, that's still in their point of view. But to say Samantha heard the, you know, the footsteps approaching, you can take that heard part out. Like it doesn't, that has nothing to do with, you don't need those words in the point of, for point of view.
Right, right.
Just having someone approach is not putting you out of point of view because the character could still hear that approach. It's not. So that's, I guess, a master level part
Yeah.
of the,
No, I
that's a
think you're
little too
right.
in the weeds, but
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense.
so
Um,
camera test. Also, what I wanted to say quickly about point of view too is I love the idea of distance is a dial and not a switch. So you can zoom in,
oh yeah.
and that's really like for sensory stuff or like just a thought beat, like internal dialogue, like not pensive thinking, but like those little micro movements or whatever, and for emotional impact. And then you can zoom out for more context and reflection and summary or whatever. And yeah, so I like how you can kind of for pace and for theme, or like pointing the camera at something that you the author want the reader to notice without actually saying it, so you can kind of
Yeah.
adjust the camera, with your words, so to
Right. And
speak.
that's realism too. Like you're not always as attuned to, you might be in bed reading a book while your partner is getting ready for bed and you're not paying attention, but as so much your point of view is not intent on them, but then maybe that your partner has is injured and you are now like there might be times the same scenario your focus changes based on the scene. And I think that's a great, like, I'm going to use that actually as I'm completing an edit today. Like it's a dial, not a switch. That's a
Yeah,
great,
and I
I
think
love it.
that is a way to shift point of view in an artful way. So you can start a
Yeah.
book, with that omniscient point of view. Here's the town, and then here's the street, and here's the house, and here's the room, and then here's the character, and now you're in the character's first person point of view.
Right. And
You
the
know,
character's
like,
having, and then yeah, the character's having tea, the character's eating lunch.
mm-hmm,
Oh, the character sees a clue. And then they're like, now you're like lasered in on like,
mm-hmm.
yeah, because that's psychologically realistic.
So you
I
don't
would
have
also,
to.
oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, you don't have to stick with the same point of view.
No.
There are ways to shift it artfully in your manuscript, and you can help yourself choose which point of view to go with based on genre expectations, but also like the story expectation. How is the story most aided? Like what camera lens is going to tell this story best for
Right.
tension, for clarity, for theme resonance, for before we hit record, we were talking about The Book Thief told by the point of view of death. So amazing.
Right.
Omniscient, obviously,
Right.
because he's another entity, but the way the story is told is so amazing. So you can choose to tell your story in in different ways to create different impacts. And you can test it even by writing them. Like you can choose a scene like and write it in different points of view and see which one like resonates the best.
Right. That's where your writing group comes in. Just pass
Yeah.
those along, see what they like. Yeah.
Excellent.
It's it is
I
like
want to
it
keep
is.
talking about this.
Oh, I want to keep talking about it, but it is time. I think we can continue. I mean, I think we can break down like different points of view for, or like maybe break down a book that is in a unique point of view. But
Hmm.
here's the other, I'll just say this before we part. Like, remember physicality. Like, it's a great way to, if you're worried about a character who's not in the point of view, conveying what they feel, then use something physical. Like I use that example of like rolling the eyes. Like it is a physical communication of emotional state. So you
Hmm.
don't need to say that this person resents that person or has contempt for this person. If they roll the eyes, that means, oh, oh wow. Or if that person's body language does shifts, that to me is the where point of view um, kicks it up a notch. Is like when that nonverbal thing, which we all know is like 70% of communication anyway,
Right.
is what we lead with.
Cool.
To be continued.
To be continued. All
All
right.
right.
Thanks for talking with me this week.
My
We'll
pleasure. So
see
much
you
fun.
next time. Bye for now. Maybe
Bye bye.
you've said, I'll write it when things slow down, but you don't, because the real block isn't time, it's alignment. I'm Valerie Isan, book coach, story analyst, and your witchy book doula. I created Aligned Author for soul led experts who feel the call to put their life's work into a book that outlives the algorithm and finally say what they came here to say. In Aligned Author, we do two things at once. We build the book and we build the you who can write it. First, we get crystal clear. We start with a 60 to 90-minute strategy session to surface your book's core message, the heartbeat that ties every chapter together, and define your story hypothesis so the whole manuscript knows where it's going. You'll leave with a customized action plan that respects your creative rhythm and your life. Then we meet weekly, one-on-one. These sessions combine story coaching, business strategy, intuitive insight, and creative ritual. We use manuscript diagnostics and proven story elements to shape your structure, and we fold in writing exercises, meditations, and oracle readings to keep you connected to your deepest voice. All calls are recorded for reflection. Between sessions, you're not alone. You get ongoing accountability, weekly, monthly, and direct messaging, so momentum becomes normal. You'll also have access to group reflection and celebration circles because your book may be solitary, but your becoming doesn't have to be. Here's what shifts. You stop trying to write every day out of guilt and start writing on a sustainable rhythm with boundaries that protect your focus and your family time. You stop wondering if your story is redundant. Spoiler, your lived experience in your language is exactly what your reader craves. You stop chasing agents and trends before you even have a book and start building a manuscript that moves readers to action and grows your visibility. Your book becomes a true business card, one with a pulse. What you actually master: story structure, the elements that make a narrative breathe, self editing with discernment, and the art of moving readers so your message lands and lasts. What you receive: less overwhelm and more inner spaciousness, practical tools for sustainable creativity, and the quiet, profound peace of honoring a soul level promise to yourself. What you won't have to do: upend your life, sacrifice your relationships, or take 8 years to write a first draft. We clear fear, self-doubt, and burnout by aligning action with your mission. Aligned Author isn't a template or a timeline someone hands you. It's a sacred, strategic container where your book and your next self are midwifed into being with integrity and intuition. If you're standing at the threshold and you can feel that book alive inside you, let's walk the bridge together. Apply for Aligned Author at valerieisan.com/aligned author or book a free consult to feel into the fit. Because this isn't about writing any book. It's about writing the book only you can write, the one that turns mastery into legacy. I'm Valerie Isan. Let's bring your book to life.